Hi, I'm Greg MacKellan. I am the Artistic Director of 42nd Street Moon and the Director of Silk Stockings, and we're backstage here at Silk Stockings. Silk Stockings is a show we've been wanting to revisit for a long time, not just because it has this wonderful Cole Porter score, but also because of the book by George S. Kaufman, Louis McGraw, and Abe Burrows. And it made a nice symmetry because we just did one of Kaufman's earliest hits, Strike Up the Band, and we're closing with his last Broadway show. So it's sort of our mini George S. Kaufman festival for the spring. Strike Up the Band is written in this sort of lunatic slapstick style. Very much it shows the influence that the Marx Brothers had on Kaufman. He had just worked with them on the Coconuts right before he wrote Strike Up the Band. Silk Stockings is 30 years later, almost 30 years later, and it's a very different Kaufman. The times are very different. As has been said, Strike Up the Band is about going to war. Silk Stockings is about striking out for freedom from communist oppression. It's not really so strongly political as it is the romantic story, which is the way it was in Ninotchka 2, the movie that it's based on. I think it's just that the world was so different. Strike Up the Band shows very much the world of the quote-unquote Roaring *20s. You know, it was a wacky world. Everything went, anything went, and anything goes, and people, you know, had fun. It was obviously pre-crash, whereas Silk Stockings is Eisenhower America. America is a very comfortable, the most prosperous nation in the world at that point in this, 10 years, 12 years after World War II. And communism was viewed as the one really major threat in the world at this time. This play, is taking place 2, 3, 4 years after the HUAC hearings. So there was still that sense of, communism was the big evil, which is the way it was when I was a little boy. I came along not long after this and grew up viewing communism as the one really big threat in the world. And this play definitely reflects that. In the sense that love is eternal, then of course Silk Stockings is pertinent to today. I think it's always wonderful to view this kind of hyper-romanticism that we got from the movies of the 40s and the 1950s. And Silk Stockings definitely lives in that world where we try to honor the sense, although this was written for singers, we try to honor the sense of Fred Astaire and Sid Charisse a little bit with a dance in the Big All of You number, which is the big famous song from the show. And so that sense of men and women get together and then dance, romance each other by dancing. And so love is eternal, so absolutely Silk Stockings is pertinent to today in that romanticism that it allows us to revisit. And which still exists, maybe not exactly the same way, but still exists today. I wanted to direct Silk Stockings, number one, because I have such an affinity for Cole Porter's work. I've done so many Cole Porter shows. Cole Porter was actually the first of the classic American musical theater composers that I got to know. When I was a little kid, I was listening to Kander and Ebb and Sondheim and Jerry Herman, and didn't really have, as a frame of reference, the people who wrote, the musicals in the 20s, 30s, 40s, early 50s. And as I began to investigate more, because I loved the genre, Cole Porter was the first, and it was with Ben Bagley's Cole Porter albums that I got to know Porter's work, and I just fell in love with his songs and became almost obsessed with finding Cole Porter songs and hearing them. And the more I heard, the more I loved it. So usually when we do a Cole Porter show, he just hits me where I live. There's just something about Cole Porter that I love and that I love to direct and try to bring to the stage. So that's why I wanted to direct Silk Stockings. I'm really excited that we're revisiting this. We did this show 15 years ago in a very bare bones production. And although I directed that, I have almost no memory of it. So every now and then I'll have a flash of, oh yeah, we did that. And so it's really fun to approach this as if it's a brand new project for me. And it is. I have a brand new cast that I think is terrific. And of course we have so many more and better production values now than we had back then. And so I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I just think it's a wonderful musical. It should be known better. It kind of disappeared off the radar. I'm not really sure why, unless it actually had to do something somehow with the communism angle. And people should know this show. You know, it should be as well regarded as any other Porter show. And I'm really happy to have the chance to bring it back to San Francisco.